Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Yes, I have uploaded 3 weeks in a row. I know. Going to try and continue to maintain a more regular upload schedule. But anyway, today's video is about AI and how it's going to affect and form our future, particularly, I suppose, more so young people's futures. Now, obviously, we don't know how it's going to impact our futures. This is purely speculation, I suppose, kind of guessing on where things are heading. But I think that there's a lot that we can kind of assume based on where things are already heading. So this isn't like a doom and gloom type video about AI or anything like that. AI is something that a lot of us are quite reluctant to accept, I suppose, is a word that we could use. Because AI, there's ways that it could be implemented for good. There's a lot of ways it could be implemented for bad. And we don't really know what the overall wide impact of AI is or is going to be psychologically for humans or anything like that, really, which is why a lot of us are quite cautious about it. I mean, there are things that we do know about AI, such as it requires a huge amount of electricity and resources to power the databases that run AI, essentially. And so they're really bad for the environment, meaning that AI overall is really bad for the environment. So that's one thing we know that's obviously bad about AI. But this isn't so much talking about whether AI is good or bad. It's more so about how AI is going to impact our lives in the future. And in particular, I suppose, in terms of work, jobs, because I think it's very safe to say we live in a capitalist system. We know that within capitalism, what these companies all want is to make the largest amount of profit possible. And how are they going to make the largest amount of profit possible? Well, with AI, they can literally replace people within a lot of jobs with AI. So there's going to be, I reckon, in the future, a lot of job sectors and certain types of jobs that are just going to be pretty much overtaken by AI. I don't know how quickly this will happen. It might be quite slow to implement, but I think my generation are going to live to see a future where there's a lot of currently human tasks that are overtaken and automated by AI. So then that begs the question for people, how are we going to support ourselves financially if all of our jobs are taken by AI? Now, I think there's certain careers that won't be taken over by AI particularly quickly. Anything that's manual labor, essentially blue collar jobs, those will be the last ones to be overtaken by AI, I think. But any white collar jobs, I think we're going to see a lot of those jobs replaced with AI going forward. So me, for example, my jobs were all administrative positions. I was always an administrator. My previous job was as an engineering administrator. Before that I was a commercial administrator. So basically admin. The thing with admin is pretty much any human can do admin anyway, and AI could easily do administrative tasks. It is a type of job that could easily be overtaken by AI in the future. So I kind of saw it as my career wasn't going to go anywhere in the next 10 years or so. I would probably be able to continue working for another few years, but as in 10 years from now, where would things stand? I don't know. There might not really have been any administrative positions left. But then, like I said, if jobs have all been overtaken by AI, then how do we support ourselves financially? I know that there's been talk of universal basic income, and that is something that would be great. Though living in a society where I'm honestly surprised that they haven't started taxing us for the air we breathe yet. It feels very weird to imagine a future where we all receive universal basic income, you know? Now, I also struggle to see how that would be possible when our governments supposedly don't have any money already, and they obviously get money from tax. So if we end up in a future where humans aren't paying any tax because we don't have jobs, because AI has taken all of our jobs, then where do they get the money to pay everyone's universal basic income? I'm sure there would be ways in which the government could make money if they can't make money off of taxing workers anymore. But there would have to be a big change in the system, in the way it operates. But that would probably be in a fairly distant future. So, and also, I'm not really counting on it, because I've never been someone who particularly trusts the government to do things to sort out my problems for me. The other thing is AI is creeping into creative fields, and we're seeing a lot of AI now on social media. And I think there's a lot of concern from content creators, for example, that AI is going to completely take over YouTube and things like that, and they'll lose a lot of their audience to AI. And I understand that concern, but I actually think that something like content creation on YouTube and other platforms, but especially YouTube, with long form content, I don't think that AI is actually going to be a massive problem unless AI gets to a point where it can genuinely come off as an authentic, very real person. And I say this because AI could easily generate a YouTube video with a person in it, an AI generated person, and make the person seem real. But it could easily generate a scripted YouTube video. At the moment, you can kind of still tell if something is AI. There are indications, and overall, AI generated videos are very sort of perfect. There's no real flaws. There's no. It's all in the sort of scripted video format. But when it comes to videos, kind of like the ones I do, where it's all unscripted and fairly minimal editing, there's pauses. I sometimes have to sit there and think about what I'm going to say. I kind of ramble a little bit. These are all very unscripted, very human behaviors that I'm not entirely sure AI could replicate. Because because we are human and not the result of technology, we have a lot of imperfections. We have a lot of imperfections that make us the individuals that we are. And I think that it's this aspect of humanity that will differentiate us from AI moving forward. And I think that's why we are seeing this type of format growing again on YouTube. I think people are getting kind of fed up with the very high production, overly scripted videos. There's still space for that type of content on the internet, of course. But we're starting to see a shift in the other direction where people are starting to enjoy very unscripted content. And I think it is partially very much in direct response to the rise of AI. People are becoming more and more concerned with whether something is AI, whether it's real, whether it's fake. And that's why we're seeing a rise in sort of this kind of unscripted, minimal editing type content. So I feel that we're already kind of seeing a pattern of where things are going to head, even just on YouTube, for example. Now, I don't know whether that is actually going to be the case or not. It's just something that I've noticed, that I have linked to the rise of AI on this platform and other platforms on social media. But the thing I suppose as well is with long form content, AI has a much easier time generating short form content that's convincing than it does long form content. Because, for one, with the long form content, you're actually looking at and watching the individual on screen for a lot longer. And therefore, you're picking up on cues within the way they're speaking or their facial expressions and stuff like that, and picking up on whether they seem realistic or not. And for example, one thing that you'll probably notice with AI generated content is that the individual that's in the video that's been AI generated doesn't move much. So I suppose what I'm saying is we might kind of be moving to a future where maybe we all receive universal basic income. I don't know. And then we see more and more people moving to things like YouTube and online platforms where you can make your own content and share your thoughts in long form in particular as a means to make money, and also just a means to have an outlet, a creative outlet of some sort, and to actually be doing something. Because the thing is if we're all on universal basic income, for example, and we don't have to work, then I think a lot of us would get bored. I would. Some people don't necessarily need to have something to work towards or to be doing on a regular basis in order to be content. But I do. I like to have something that I feel like I'm working towards. For me, that's YouTube, and it gives me a creative outlet and a way to express myself and interact with people that I otherwise wouldn't be getting at the moment. So yeah, I know that there's a lot of videos about this in much more depth than I've gone into. I don't think that it's all doom and gloom, but AI is definitely going to cause a shift in the way our society operates at some point. I don't know how far how far into the future it will be, but at some point I feel like it is going to cause a lot of change, because companies aren't going to just look at this technology that's going to allow them to save loads of money and not implement it. That's not how capitalism works. I'd say smaller, more local businesses will probably be the last ones to implement AI on a broader scale across their companies, but the big corporations are already doing it. I don't really have advice on what to do. All I can really say is that's what I think is probably going to happen, and I guess we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see what happens. I don't know. It's this is the problem. I'm 28, okay, and I already went through the experience of finishing school, wondering what on earth am I going to do, getting a job, and then going through the whole experience of trying to build a career of some sort. But I do still remember when I was at school and I was having to try and figure out what I wanted to do with my life, and trying to look at where things were heading in general, kind of considering what kinds of jobs were the best jobs to get into, what kind of careers were the best ones to get into in order to try and future proof my career to an extent, I suppose. But at the time, AI wasn't something that, I mean, it's not like AI was never talked about, but it was very much just a thing in science fiction. It wasn't a reality that we were about to be faced with when I was still at school. It was some sort of fantasy, really. It wasn't a reality, you know? So I didn't have to bring AI into the equation. And despite that, I struggled a lot to try and figure out what I wanted to do. It's really hard to try and plan your future from the age of like 16 and figure out what you want your career to be, and then study in that field to give yourself the best chance of getting a job. And then now for young people, on top of that, they're basically being told you might as well not bother because there's AI coming that's going to completely take over the workforce and there will be no jobs for you anyway. So there's no point in studying. So I hate to imagine what it must be like for people in their late teens well, mid-teens, late teens, early 20s. And for me as well, being 28, I'm like, well, I don't think there really is a career moving forward in administration for me. I could probably find a job, and I'm sure that there would be work available for me for the next few years. But what about in 10 years' time? My mic died, so I'm having to refilm this section. But basically, what I was saying is just that everything is very uncertain at the moment. So trying to predict and plan a future career and all that sort of thing is very difficult. But that's basically where I think things are going to possibly head. If we don't get any universal basic income and AI takes over all our jobs, then I have no idea what we're supposed to do. I have no idea. It's like we'll all just be jobless, and that will be fun. Unless AI doesn't take over all our jobs. I don't know. It's hard to say. They keep saying, well, AI is going to open up new job fields, and it will, but not enough, in my opinion, to fill or replace the amount of jobs that will have been lost to AI. That's it for this video. Let me know what you think in the comments. I know that a lot of people have kind of differing opinions on this, but I have seen this take a lot on the internet anyway. So, but yeah, let me know what you think, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.